Making 3 wins in a row for the St. John's Red Storm, a 92-68 victory over Marquette here at Madison Square Garden. I'm Dexter Henry, joined by our fantastic beat reporter covering the Johnnies, my guy, Zach Braziller. And Zach, this is going to be interesting when we get into this because St. John's, I just mentioned, they've won 3 in a row. They've won 8 out of their last 10 games. Fans probably starting to feel a bit better about this team lately. But I want to talk about this game because I thought it was an interesting game in the way you and I watched it, and maybe Rick Pitino felt a little bit differently. But St. John's, only up 8 at halftime. To me, they looked a little sluggish, a little sleepy in the first half, a slow start. How did you see it? Even though they had some foul trouble, how did you see how they played here in the first half?
Yeah, they started great. I mean, it was 15-4 out of the gate, and it looked like they were going to overwhelm Marquette. And, foul trouble, Bryce Hopkins got 2 early, Zuby, Ejiofor got 2. And, so he had to go really deep into his bench, and they're only up 6 to break. I thought it reminded me a little of Providence 10 days ago. Rick Pitino clearly didn't agree.
No, he did not.
But I see his point. The Providence game, obviously, they only really had Zuby playing well. This was very different. But, they came out with a killer mindset in that second half. And, we look at these last 3 wins, all by double figures, all basically blowouts. And it's kind of been the same where, they've been awesome in the second half. Marquette had 19 turnovers today. St. John's entered number 1 in the Big East in forcing turnovers in league play. I mean, the 3 forward starting lineup they've gone to now has been awesome with Ejiofor, Hopkins, and Dylan Mitchell. I mean, look, even UConn. I don't think there's a team in the Big East that can match them with their athletes up front. And that's clearly the strength of this team, and they're leaning into it, and it's the right move. You can make the argument, maybe they should have done it a little earlier, but it's the right move, and it's paying off.
Yeah, leaning into the size and the athleticism. We see that pay dividends for them there. You talked about that second half, right? Because I thought the energy was different. And yes, we can look at all the foul stuff in the first half, but the energy was different in the second half. What did you like particularly about what you saw from them in the second half? One, and do you think maybe they were becoming too reliant on being a second half team here?
No, I don't. I think some of that, Rick is right. Some of that was playing your end of the bench guys because your 2 of your 3, 4 best players are in foul trouble. And, Marquette, because of their quickness, athleticism in the backcourt, is a tough matchup for St. John's. Left Harris, Leotopoulos, who was so good last week, kind of didn't. This wasn't the game for him, and he really didn't have a role. And, some of the other guards struggled outside of Oziyah Sellers. But what I liked is they really took it to Marquette in the second half. They didn't, one thing we've seen in these 3 wins since the Providence loss is even when they've gone up, they haven't let their foot off the gas. They've had a killer mentality, and that's something that they're going to need as this schedule. Look, at Villanova Saturday will be tough. Then Seton Hall comes here. UConn is not, it's still a few weeks away, but UConn's not that far down the road. And this team is going to need to be a little more consistent defensively, especially in the backcourt. Pitino talks a little about that. But look, consider where this was, 10 days ago after that Providence loss. I mean, win by 14, win by 17, and now today by 24. I think if you're a St. John's fan, you have to be very encouraged by what's happened here.
Yeah, I think you absolutely have. And speaking of encouraged, also got to talk about Oziyah Sellers because he's been playing really good, been shooting the ball really good. On another heater today, shot the ball really well all over the floor, including from downtown. How critical is his shooting to this St. John's team getting to where they want to go?
Yeah, look, when he plays well offensively, the offense usually is very good. And early on this year, he was very good. And then he kind of went into a little bit of a drought, and the offense struggled. And now lately, he's making shots. And look, with this big lineup they're playing, teams got to double. Teams can't really deal with Zuby in the post or Bryce Hopkins. And so you're seeing a lot of double teams, and you're seeing more open shots for him and Ian Jackson and Darley and other guys.
Yeah, you're starting to see that, and that's working really well for the Johnnies and their offense. Last thing we got to touch on, and Zach talked about the schedule, but before this game, news coming down that St. John's letting go of their GM Matt Abdelmassih. What did you make of this? You reported on this. What can you tell fans about this? Is there any concern about this going forward for this St. John's program, and now they have to look for a new GM?
Yeah, look, I've known Matt a long time. He's very good at what he does in terms of the transfer portal, and what you hear is the school's looking into some financial moves, and that was part of kind of this decision to move on from him. There obviously is a lot of rumors out there about different stuff, but yeah, like it's a loss. I don't think there's any question about that. Matt had a huge role in putting together last year's team, had a huge role in this year's team. He was a former agent. He really understands this ever-changing landscape. But they're in the process of looking for new people. They're gonna find someone new, and and they go on. It kind of just it is what it is at this point. I mean, I don't think it's a good situation, but I don't think it's really going to impact this team too much.
Right, it doesn't seem like it'll impact the team for this season. And after the game, we got a chance to hear from Coach Pitino about the situation. Here were his comments on the situation.
It's out of my hands. I found out tonight. All I was told is 4 days ago is look for another general manager. They said to me, don't ask any questions. I said, okay, I'll look for one. So it would be like, it's really not a big deal, Roger. Really not a big deal. What's a big deal is making sure that we don't lose anything. But that's a university decision. I'll abide by it. They didn't ask me my opinion, and I didn't give it because they didn't. And in their defense, they didn't want to bother me. They didn't want to distract me right now, and I appreciate that.
Are you disappointed at the situation?
It's not a big deal. It really isn't. I'm disappointed that somebody had to lose a job with 4 young kids, yes, but it's not a big deal in terms of our basketball program. And we move on. We'll go find someone else. Are you interested?
I think you may have some other people already in mind.
Well, I got 3 guys in mind, to be honest with you, and one's here today.
Yeah.
But I'm going to look at 2 other guys, and making sure that they have basketball ability. But look, it's never good to see people go, but in the eyes of the university, it was very warranted. So we move on.
So there you heard it from Coach Pitino, but St. John's with a big win here at the Garden over Marquette. Zach talked about it. Villanova on Saturday. Big game against Seton Hall next Tuesday. Seton Hall cracking the top 25 this week, so that should be a good one. Zach and I, we've got more coming for you later this week on Eye of the Storm. That should be a lot to talk. We should have a lot to talk about with the Johnnies there. That should be pretty fun. This Johnnies team starting to play some good basketball, Zach. I think New York fans starting to get a little bit excited again.
They're definitely headed in the right direction. Look, it's a very new team. They had a really tough non-conference. Obviously lost some games. Yep. They felt like they could have won, but they're definitely playing better. I don't think there's any question.
No question about it. That is Zach Braziller. I'm Dexter Henry from Madison Square Garden. We'll catch you next time.